Hey guys, welcome back to the Jersey Comic Crew. We are talking about the aftermath of Dark Knight's death metal. Where's the DC universe going? Come on inside and find out.
Hi guys, Rob and Chris here from the Jersey Comic Crew, and we are talking about what's next for the DC universe after Dark Knight's death metal. So, if you haven't watched our previous video, we do a review of the comic event that changed the landscape of DC permanently, right? We have it now. The universe has been restarted. People are back to life, and there are hints that other characters who have died previously before this event might be brought back to life, which opens up new possibilities of storylines, which are pretty interesting. We see that there are more and more Earths out there. We find out that our Earth, which was Earth Prime, the center of everything, is no longer the center. There are two centers. One we don't know anything about. One is Elseworlds, right? Which is cool that Elseworlds is going to have its own Prime Earth, which gives like DC license. Like you're going to want to write something weird? That's the Elseworld universe. You could do it over there. Kind of like the Ultimate Universe in Marvel. I just don't know what happens next. Right now, currently in DC, there is this event or phase or whatever you want to call it called the future state, right? So that's where DC's taking 2 months of their writing comics about possible futures for these characters, essentially giving 2 months break and hiatus of all the current ongoing books. And then after that 2 months of them exploring possible futures with other characters, they're going to jump back into main continuity to pick up everything here. Which, on paper, kind of sounds not too bad, Chris. Like, you're telling me that DCs get to sow the wild oats to write about possible futures. We might enjoy those books, and it might not mean anything, and that gives them 2 months to fix or, like, come up with a game plan after they just reset the whole universe. Doesn't sound too bad.
Honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on. I'm afraid of certain aspects of this move because of the business ramifications and the PR look of things. Mm-hmm. And I'm really trying to figure out what the point of this is. Is Future State going to be the future for these characters? Because if it's the future for the DC universe, you're not showing us the future. I mean, they're showing us the future of new characters that are younger going forward, and they're going to be showing us the future of our characters that we know and love going forward. Mm-hmm. Is Elseworld going to be a planet where all of these future state characters live?
Oh,
is it going to be this world, like Prime Earth, where everybody's going to live? Are all the characters on Prime Earth and Elseworld something else? I don't know. And I don't know if DC knows either.
I don't think they know.
And that's the biggest issue. I feel like they're throwing a bunch out at us. And maybe part of it is pandemic related, right? We're going to take 2 months. We're going to focus on these stories with new creative teams. We're going to see whose books are really good, what sticks, what doesn't. We'll add them to our main slot. And if some of these characters sticks, perfect. We'll add them to the slate of characterization.
Could be. And, could also be cutting the teeth of new creative teams, right? Seeing how well they do. Maybe that team does really well. They could be brought on some mainstream books. I could see that. But what you said, it really stuck with me. The Elseworld story, like our Prime Earth. We know those characters and we know that story is going to be building. But it's no longer the Prime in the multiverse, but our Earth, right? Our basis. And then we have these two other universes. One we don't know anything about. One is called Elseworlds. In comic books, Elseworlds used to be the brand that DC would write under for these unique stories that didn't take place in our continuity. Mm-hmm. Now, before, Elseworlds didn't necessarily link up with other Elseworld stories. But now if you have an Elseworld universe, that means they're all going to connect, right? So that kind of puts some weird things in there. They do have infinite amount of worlds, so I don't think that they're gonna have to worry about DC Black Label. It's its own unique thing. They could just say, hey, it's somewhere else. Elseworld is pretty much their ultimate universe that Marvel had, right? But then you also have this future state stuff. Are you telling me these future state characters, are they gonna, like you said, are they gonna stick and they're possibly gonna be on this quote unquote Elseworld?
That's
what I'm thinking.
And here's the biggest issue with that, right? Okay. you have characters in Future State where you're getting a Brazilian-born Wonder Woman, a Black
Cool.
Batman. Supposedly, one of the new Flash characters is going to be, a non-gendered, non-binary character.
Mm.
If you segregate them in the most literal world to this Elseworld, is that really the look you're going to go for?
Oh, I see what
And
you're saying.
I think we're in a situation that a lot of companies are in 2020, 2021, where, you know, as a black human being myself, I don't care that Aunt Jemima's not on the bottle of syrup. You know what I mean? That's not my focus for racial justice and equality, or Uncle Ben on rice. That's not the issue. Or the commercials you see on TV that's like clearly pandering. Stuff like that isn't what black people care about.
So, are you trying to say, or do you believe somewhat that this Future State is pandering to the to people who aren't as well represented in comics as white males are?
I don't want to say that because I honestly don't know.
Okay.
If you have an idea for a character, like Brian Michael Bendis created Miles Morales. He's a white guy. He's adopted a bunch of black children. He wanted to take those viewpoints of what he learned from being a father into his writing. So you have a character like Miles, who is now one of the biggest characters in Marvel, with the video game and the movies and everything else. That is not pandering. That's just making a great character. I don't know.
Hear me out, though. Yeah. Miles was created in the Ultimate Universe, right?
Yes.
He was in his own thing, and it did really well. And then Marvel did its weird stuff and combined it. Yeah. What if this is DC trying to do the same thing, but instead of dedicating them creating to this, they're using this futurescape? They're like, oh, the characters that we like that work here, then we'll have them get their own story in the Elseworld and kind of do more prep work to make the next Miles Morales for DC. Maybe that's what they're doing.
Hey, if that works, that'd be great.
If it works.
Right?
If.
I don't know if you're going to just say, hey, let's create all these legacy characters and have them all be different, and we'll see what sticks. Like, it's almost, to me, it's like throwing 50 darts at a board at the same time. Yeah. Right? And the other aspect is I've read a couple of these already.
Oh, okay.
I've read a couple of them already. I read the Batman one first.
How's it?
Knowing it was going to be Tim Fox. Mm-hmm. And I was honestly disappointed.
Tim Fox is Lucius Fox's son.
Yes.
Who is Batwing now, correct?
He's Batwing currently now. Yes.
In our universe, okay.
Yes. I think they missed a massive opportunity with the new Batman.
Okay.
And that aspect is this. Every story you tell for these characters are going to be looked at so much more and broken down so much more because they are these characters. And people who already don't want these books, it's going to be so much easier to be like, see, pandering, or see, stupid character.
Interesting.
And in the case of Tim Fox specifically, you have a character that is, the son of one of the richest Wayne Tech employees of all time, one of the biggest Batman associated characters of all time.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather be someone brand new. Give me someone who has been beaten down by society, beaten down by racism, beaten down by all of these things, and had to build himself up, make his money, and become this rich in order to do the things he wants to do.
Here's the thing. Like, I'm not disagreeing with you. I like that idea, especially. Like, it sounds very appealing. But like with Batman, you already have so many legacy characters, and a lot of them you don't do anything. Like
that too.
Like you said, Tim Fox. When was the last time you had a good story with him? Maybe Detective a couple years ago, and he was a side character. Oh, Azrael is technically an extension of the Bat family. Oh, Duke Thomas, who hasn't done squat since he was created. Right? Yeah. Like that's a problem. Like you have so many legacy characters already that like maybe you do need to take them and evolve them in this unique world, so that way you could revisit them. Like and like the Flash family have so many, but I know the Flash is a new character. I think they're trying to paint themselves out of a corner. It's just going to be very hard to do, and I'm curious to see what's going to happen next.
It feels very much AT&T is like, hey, we bought WB in this aspect of business style entertainment for the entertainment, for the movies, for the rights to these characters, for TV, for HBO Max. This is why we're in this. We don't care about your little paper stories with pictures in them.
Maybe.
And that to me is becoming more prevalent every time I pick up a DC comic, unfortunately. It's the future state books, they're flashy in the front, and then you open it up, and I'm like, meh. Like the Wonder Woman one was pretty good. And you have a lot of South American kind of like their own ancient gods and stuff that they believed in back in the day that I'm learning about while reading it.
I like that.
That's mixing with Greek mythology and mixing with the natural story of the Wonder Woman stuff.
I could see that being introduced.
So Yara Flor, in my opinion, has a really big chance of sticking. And that could be a character moving forward. That's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
The new Superman stuff, as they've been clearly, you and I talked about this years ago, pushing Jonathan Kent, aging him up
in the wrong way. In the wrong way.
Well, they just did it again, right? Because now in Future State he's even older, and now he's Superman, and it's just bad. It's terrible. And The Flash is the best book I've read so far. So I don't know what the overall plan is, and the way that Dark Knight's Death Metal wrapped it up so quickly in those like 4 pages of like, yeah, there's a multiverse, and here's this new area, this new tower thing, and we're gonna bring you over and take a look. Oh yeah, all the villains are fine. They're just working on some stuff because they're smart. And
yeah. What is that? Like Ra's al Ghul,
Lex, Talia al Ghul,
Vandal Savage.
Yeah,
and they're like, yep, they're here now. I'm like, what?
To me, it reminded me of the Legion of Doom arc in Young Justice.
Yes,
that like happened where they all just like you kept seeing more and more of them, but there's no payoff right now, right? Like, and I don't know if there will be, because if Future State's 2 months, we go back to normal DC Comics in March.
We're already gonna forget about this.
No one's gonna care. Everyone's gonna forget. It's almost gonna be like a longer version of like Month of the Villain,
maybe,
or Year of the Villain, or whatever.
I like that. It's probably what it is.
I don't know. My biggest worry is I don't know if the company putting out the comics cares enough about what they're putting out for people to keep buying them.
I don't know, and
that's scary.
We also just had DC and their whole distribution issue. It's getting harder and harder to stay on board with DC when they're doing this, but hopefully there is a big payoff. Guys and gals, we want to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. What you think the state of DC is going to be after Dark Knight's Death Metal, with the whole Future State going on right now. Are you excited for it? Are you liking any of the books? Let me know. Well, let us know.
And guys, thanks so much for watching. Give us a thumbs up. Like, really helps the channel out a lot. And if you're new, subscribe. Turn on those notifications. You don't want to miss any more talk of DC Comics or Marvel Comics or any comics. We love talking comics. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Chris Heller. That's Rob Moran. We are the Jersey Comic Crew, and we'll see you next time.